Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. In this video we're going to be taking a first look at Zander, who is a promo character. And first up, this is what he looks like, and I guess he's got that sort of like cowboy feel in terms of what he's wearing, his jacket, his hat, that sort of thing. He hasn't got a backpack, which is very strange for a 6-star maxed out, but he does look pretty cool. He's very unique. There aren't too many characters that look like that in the game, which is nice. It is nice when there's a bit of variation. It does look like he is injured, as it is. He's got a leg injury by the looks of things, but we'll look at his stats first. 1,771 attack, 1,771 defense, and 1,824 HP. He is a tough traded character. His role is support, and those stats are kind of what we would expect from a support character. Other support characters have very balanced stats, kind of exactly the same as Zander here. We'll look at his adrenaline rush, and it's called Critical Juncture. It's a 76 AP cost rush, and it is deal 500% damage to one enemy. That enemy gets impaired for 3 turns and minus 85 AP. One teammate gains 100% AP. So obviously the percentage damage will scale off of his attack, which is not super low. We do see tanks come out with like 14 to 1500 attack stats, so you could decide, hey, I want to actually do a bit of damage with this character and raise that. Probably not the way to go, mainly just to treat this as bonus damage with that 500%. It does look like pretty much every character whose support does a lot of damage in terms of just like the percentage. Compare that to, let's say, Sawyer, who was the last ascendable character, 300%. So support characters doing a lot of damage, and to single target, which I personally prefer high single target damage because you can control it, you know where it's going, whereas characters that have like double hits and it reduces the percentage, it generally falls off. You get your Leons, and Leon isn't that great. That enemy gets impaired for 3 turns, which obviously is very, very strong, but that can be resisted. But regardless, they will get minus 85 AP, so they're going to be reset pretty much, and that's every single character within the 6-star era. You know, no character has more than 85 AR when they're maxed out on their rush. I mean, some potentially do if you don't max out their rush, but minus 85 AR is going to reset every single character's rush to 0, and there's no way of resisting that right now. AP, you know, drains cannot be resisted. However, that impaired part can be. And the last part is one teammate gains 100% AP, and that's going to be that sort of random factor when it comes to attacking or defending in terms of who it goes to. It generally goes to the person with the highest AP. So let's say someone's got 85% of the AP already. They're only going to gain that last 15% rather than, you know, going to someone who would gain a lot. That's generally how it seems to work anyway. It's exactly the same as Fast Beta. Fast Beta does exactly the same sort of thing where he drains an enemy's rush down to 0, and one teammate gains 100% AP. And Fast Beta can be quite effective in the right setup, and I see the same pretty much going for Zander as well. He has of course got an active skill, and it is Disarm, and AP gain a brand new active skill with it being Disarm, and it has got an initial cooldown of being 2, which is pretty fast. Cooldown of 5 turns, which is fairly slow, but it's kind of the norm for what this sort of active skill is going to bring to the game. And the number of uses is 2 again, kind of the norm. Sort of like you have active revives doing the same sort of deal in terms of you don't get a huge amount of them just based on their power, but you know, by the time you're getting to where you can't use it, you probably already won, if I'm honest, or lost. And it says up to 3 enemies get disarmed for 3 turns. This character gains 35% AP. Now, I do question the power of this as the first introduction of a disarm active skill. If you're going to introduce something, especially if it's just identical to a specialist skill almost, like this isn't identical to disarm, because obviously one of the biggest benefits of disarm as a specialist skill is that the character, when they attack, cannot be stunned on defense, cannot be impaired on defense. So it's like a free attack, risk free. Whereas this obviously isn't going to do that, but it is a guaranteed disarm. In terms of the scaling of this, you should introduce it so it's the same power as the original specialist skill, so you've got room to maneuver in the future. Because straight away it's going for 3 enemies, where this obviously a specialist skill does 1 enemy. So instantly it's 3 times more powerful in terms of the amount of characters that it targets. And the amount of turns it does it for is 3 rather than the 2 which the specialist skill does. Obviously, from one turn to the next, you can disarm a second character if you want to with a disarm specialist, but I think it should have just started off at 2 enemies for 2 turns instantly. That's more powerful than a specialist skill disarm, but I don't think this guy is going to be used over a normal disarm, based on the fact that, you know, you can disarm turn 1 with a normal disarm, but with this guy it's turn 2. He could be good on a defense team, however, based on this active skill, just to be annoying, and I think that's primarily where this active skill is going to come into heavy use. If you want to use him on an attack team, you're probably not going to do the active skill too much unless you don't have a disarm. He has got a specialist skill, which is command, which is, I don't know, I don't think command is anywhere near as powerful as it used to be, but on a defense team, potentially within the right setup, could be dangerous. You know, he is a tough character. There are some nice potential builds that you can get around this character. Now, he has got an attached weapon, and it does look pretty cool. It's a rifle, and it's Zander's sturdy homemade rifle, so he's made this at home apparently. It's got 30% base HP, 15% defense, so that's the upgrade slot, guaranteed upgrade slot, whether you want to go for AP on attack, make him ultra tanky. It's up to you. You can go for just pure defense on there. Because he's a command, you don't necessarily need him to rush too often. Now, the fact that the third slot is a new special where it says when being attacked, a better chance to regain 20% AP, you could decide, actually, I'm not going to go for AP on his weapon and just gain, you know, a lot of defense, a lot of HP, just so he's very sturdy. And that way, if anyone targets him, like generally speaking, if you come up against the team that has a command, you would target that command because they can't command themselves. Whereas if you target that command, all 5 of those hits could potentially proc that third slot, and that would make him rush. So effectively, you've commanded him yourself. That can be disarmed, of course, so there is, you know, obviously upsides there, but this character seems actually pretty interesting, and there's a lot of nice builds that you could probably get this guy in. I think he works on both offensive teams and defensive teams, but I don't think he's going to be too powerful as a character by himself outright. He needs other characters, obviously, to command. He needs other characters to boost with his rush in terms of getting their rushes off earlier, that sort of thing. His active skill could be frustrating. I think it's going to be more of a problem for offensive teams, which is going to be a massive issue just based on the fact that there's a lot of under power right now in, you know, the wider game for offense teams, and this is going to further drain whatever power is right there right now, and that is the problem. I think Zander, like I said, is a good character. I don't think he's one of the best characters. He's obviously going to be massively overshadowed by characters like Negan, Zachary, and like Dr. Stevens in terms of just how ridiculous these characters are, but I think Zander is actually quite a nice character. I just only question the scaling of his active skill in terms of just where to start and where to go to. 2 for 2 would have probably been like a much nicer starting point, but that's the way it is. I think overall he's fairly balanced, and I think he's quite a nice character. If you're going to pull for him, he could be really nice on a defense team if you've got the right setup. But do tell me what you think about Zander. That is the end of my video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.